In this video we are going to talk about dimensions. So what is dimension? What are the content dimension table contain, and different types of dimensions, and what is the role of the dimension table? So let's get into the definition of dimension and detailed understanding of dimension. So take an example of employee table where it contains employee ID, name, department and salary. So just look at name column, so where it has data which are non-quantifiable information, like department also which are having non-quantifiable. When you see salary, it is a quantifiable value. So what about the employee ID? Employee ID is a primary key for the employee table. So here the definition is all the non-quantifiable columns or all non-quantifiable values are called dimension. So here name and department are dimensions, since these two columns are having data which are non-quantifiable. So what about salary column? So salary is a fact or measure. It's where we can do the calculations. We can do sum, we can do average, we can do total, everything we can do. And whereas employed is the primary key for this table. So here forming the dimension table. So here you can see this employee table has both dimension and fact. So here fact, salary is our fact. So when we form the dimension tables, we need to have only primary key and dimensions. So here primary key is employee ID and name and departments are dimensions. So here when we create a new dimension table with the primary key and dimensions, here this is how it looks. So dimension table types. So there are different types of dimension tables are there based on the type of data available. So here the major types are confirmed dimension, degenerated dimension, junk dimension, slowly changing dimension, rapidly changing dimension. So the first one would be confirmed dimension. So confirmed dimension is a dimension where the same dimension can be used in different fact tables or different data mart or different databases. It's called confirmed dimension. When we use the same dimension, the data will be used. The same data will be used for multiple purposes. So in this case, here you can see customer dimension has information of customer first name, last name, date of birth, address and education information, where the same dimension table can be used for saving fact table and loan fact tables. In that case, customer dimension is called confirmed dimension, since the same data will be used in different fact tables. So what are the advantages of confirmed dimension? When we use the same dimension in multiple purposes or with multiple business lines, it's called confirmed dimension. Since we are using the same dimension for multiple business lines, that case we are reducing the space. We are directly it reduces the cost, and the data load process will be also one-time activity. So these are the advantages: directly only one-time data load and data consistency will be very high since we are keeping only one table for the entire set of data. There is no data redundancy or data load redundancy, less memory consumption since we are having only one table. So the second one will be degenerated dimension. So before giving the definition for degenerated dimension, so let us look into the example here. So the table is having employee name, department, salary, and the two boolean columns, married or not and contractor or not. So these two married and contractor are boolean columns. When we separate the uh, fact table and the dimension table, so employee ID, name, department are dimension table, and those two married and contractor boolean columns are moved into fact table called salary. It is mapped with employee ID is the reference key for salary fact table. So in this case, so I don't want to keep these two boolean columns in fact table. Instead, what I'm going to do is I am going to create a new table with surrogate key along with these two boolean values. So how I'm going to do it? So here you can see I'm keeping only the fact alone in fact table, and I'm creating new table called flag table. Flag ID is there, so this is surrogate key generated using sequence generator, and married and contractor boolean combinations. So only 4 combinations we can get it, and these flag ID will be mapped to fact table. So this is how it looks. The same way, instead of mapping the flag ID with the fact tables, I can map the flag ID with dimension table. So here right is how it looks. So what is the difference between previous one and this one? Previous one is called star. It keeps the star schema dimensional approach, and when you map a dimension with another dimension, it looks like a snowflake and it falls under snowflake dimensional approach. So that is the difference we are having. And now get into the definition. So degenerated dimension which is being derived from a fact table columns. In our example, we saw that married and contractor are boolean columns. Those two boolean columns were available in salary fact table. We have created a new table called flag table with flag ID as the surrogate key along with married and contractor boolean columns. So that flag dimension is called degenerated dimension, since we have derived the dimension from fact table columns. So what is the advantage? The main advantage is reduction in memory consumption, since we need not mention that yes or no boolean values for each and every record. Instead, we can map the flag ID or indexed column to fact table or a dimension table. It will save a lot of memory. And what about the junk dimension? Junk dimension is a similar example to what we have seen in degenerated dimension. So where we had married and contractor, and we are getting the married and contractor into separate table, and we can map the flag ID with either fact table to form star schema. So when you to form a snowflake, so we need to map the flag ID with fact table, dimension table. The summary of the junk dimension is, so there is a slight difference between a degenerate and junk. A dimension which has only dimension boolean columns except the primary or surrogate key is called junk dimension, whereas degenerated dimension is something which can which will be derived from fact table. Again, the advantage of uh, this type junk dimension also reducing in the memory consumption for and other types of SID and rapidly changing dimension we will see in upcoming slides, upcoming videos.